Hello and welcome back to another episode of the It's Not Orange podcast. The Seasiders fall to another defeat as they languish in the relegation zone as Northampton take all 3 points at Sixfields, and it doesn't get any easier as Blackpool entertain high-flying Barnsley at the weekend at Bloomfield Road, and we have a guest to help us preview all things Barnsley in about half an hour's time. But for now, we're going to look into that defeat on Saturday and touch upon the midweek win against Barrow. And we'll discuss everything we think went wrong or what went right, and hopefully you can get involved and talk us through your thoughts as well. But joining me this evening is Kurt. How are you, buddy?
Yeah, fed up of
Stop
talking
going
about
to
losing.
games, Curtis. Stop going to games.
I'm not going to. I refuse to go. Yeah, it's another horror show, but this one feels very much crafted by the manager, unfortunately. Yeah, something's got to change, isn't it?
It does. And Hoggy for the second time this season.
Yeah,
Usually joins us after wins, but no, not this week.
not many weeks, unfortunately.
Not many weeks.
Oh no, good to have back. Good to be back, though, Tom. You both doing well, chaps?
Breathing.
Yeah. I enjoyed Tuesday. If that's any
we could go to Tuesday straight away if you want. I'm not fussed about reliving Northampton.
More than happy to. Let's go glass half full. We've started the march down Wembley way. We're clearly going to win the JPT Pizza Papa, whatever it's called
Hopefully
nowadays.
It falls on the same like the weekend after, so you can just stay in London for the week. Yeah. Right, gents. Let me get up the team because it's our first talking point. Of course, from Saturday, Kurt, we'll start with you because, you were the victim of being at the stadium. This has it wrong, of course. We played Morgan and Bowler on each side. Standard back four of Imre, Coulson, Casey, Heckway and Petticock Farrell in goal. It was Honeyman and Brown in the middle with Bowler and Morgan. Can't get used to that. On the wings, and Ennis and Taylor at front. Probably the front two we want to see, Kurt, but with a clearly, in hindsight, naturally talented winger on the bench. It was frustrating to see Albie Morgan, who we'd done a bit of research before this pod, has apparently played left mid twice before for Charlton, and our first time for Blackpool we gathered, so nowhere near his natural position, and I think Bruce alluded to the fact that Sonny Carey was not a natural left winger and he potentially could have done the same job, but in foresight and in hindsight it was a horrific decision from the manager.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to dominate the conversation, isn't it? I don't know if I'm making Banks a better player in my head. I mean, Tuesday started to reinforce that he's obviously got a bit of everything, a bit of skill, a bit of trickery, a bit of pace, can finish. It's just the most criminal decision since Jake Beasley being played left mid. I can probably think of a few others, but it's so mentally outrageous. I can't believe that any of the news, Amos, whoever's got to speak to him, didn't quiz him on that. What on earth are you thinking? The fact that you've left Bloxham at home and you've left Andy Lyons at home, some quality players, and then you've got three wingers on the bench who can play left wing, literally that's their role, to then pick someone. Not only does it it's one of those things where you see it before the game and you're like, this is a terrible decision. What message does it send to those four players that could have played there? I'll include Bloxham in that. What message does it send to them? We're not playing Bolton away or Cardiff away or Huddersfield away. We're playing Northampton away. And no disrespect to Northampton, relatively okay side. I think they're one of the worst teams that I've seen in a long time. They had very little, a lot of running, but not much. And he's playing that. It's absolutely mental. And what was the thought process? I can't even think what he was trying to do.
I'm stumped. While I think about it, Hoggy, your thought process on the team. Away from Kurt's absolutely fair comment about Morgan being left wing. He's obviously stuck with not bringing Horsfall in despite him being fit before the international break and starting Tuesday as well. So obviously he wasn't injured. He just decided to play those two despite conceding 15 goals this season already.
Absolutely. I think there's a bigger question there is, were they genuinely spending 2 weeks of that international break with Albie Morgan running up and down the left wing of Squires Gate? because, like Kurt said, it's absolutely bonkers if that's what they've been doing. And if that's the best that our wonderful lineup of Steves that we've got can muster amongst themselves after 2 weeks, it's terrifying. It really, really is. And again, it's just hypocritical. You win. Okay, you can stick up for Bruce in the first game of the season and go, we had square pegs in round holes due to lack of signings, injuries at the time, etc. But since then, we've brought in winger after winger after winger. And we've continued to play central midfielders at left wing, or in Brown's case, at right back, and leave right backs on the bench. So Steve Bruce has continuously all season made a rod for his own back, and Kurt makes another good point in terms of saying, what you're saying to the wingers that are sat on the bench, you're saying they're not good enough. You're absolutely shattering their confidence. But for me, I feel this goes back to the first game of the season as well. Yes, we had square pegs in round holes, but in Peacock, Farrell, in terms of Iekwe, in terms of Evans, in terms of Fletcher, who were all horrendous in that first game of the season, we still had a squad where they should have been absolutely dragged out of that starting lineup for the next game. But Bruce set his standard, he set his benchmark by saying, no, that level of performance is fine. And it's spiraled from there, in my opinion. And there's no need to, because we had a squad that, for once, in Simon Sadler's defence, he's invested quite a lot into at this level. Probably the best squad we've had at this level for a long, long time that I can think of. And the manager is making an absolute dog's dinner of it week after week. And it's not acceptable. And it cannot continue. Anything other than a win on Saturday, he should be shown the door.
I think that's fair, and MB has completely echoed your thoughts. So Sadler must be thinking, why have I laid out all this money on wingers and he doesn't use them? And like you say, it's not Sadler's fault, Kurt, is it? At the fact that he said, I want these players for my team, and you say, like I said, he's left Banks and Hansen and Hamilton, all on the bench. Not necessarily saying Hansen deserves to start, but you've also got Bloxham at home, and that was through choice as well, he said. So whether he's showing signs of discontent or whatever, if not,
the other
like
side
to
this back four, Tom. Let's talk about the back four. Casey, Heakway, and Coulson have been pretty much the back, 75% of that back four the entire time. And how many games we lost?
Yeah.
Right. Imre's just come in and he's adding a different dynamic, and we'll be able to talk about him. But why have we not seen Andy Lyons in that back three when Brown was playing right back? Why, he's quite happy to play, Brown at right back and Morgan at left wing. But why hasn't he played Lyons at left back? Why hasn't he played Ashworth? Why hasn't Ashworth had a go at left back? We saw it on Tuesday. He looked really confident. I know it's Barrow, whatever. But when you're talking about the problem that back four has, I don't think they're all particularly good footballers. 75% of them in terms of carrying the ball. Ihikwe started to do it in the second half. That's the first time I've seen him this season move out of, our back third and carry the ball into midfield. That's a key component of playing football at any level. Look, watch any team that's played against us and their centre backs, apart from maybe Northampton because they send it down the channel. But Huddersfield players doing it. Bolton players are doing it all afternoon because they had the ball for 85 minutes. So, why, similar to Hockey's point, why, if Horsfall's fit and he's had 2 weeks of training and he's one of our marquee signings, because it was a big deal made of it, the papers alluded to the fact that championship teams
captain, right? So
exactly, guy should be on the pitch. He should be the second captain behind Honeyman, as far as I envisage him of being. So similar to what Hoggy's saying, I don't get how you do 2 weeks of training on the training ground and come up with that.
There's the other side to it as well of Casey being next to Iekwe, and he just does not look comfortable having him next to him at all. You can see it all game. It's like when Marv got made captain, the pressure of that absolutely made his game crumble. Casey this season not been able to play in a confident manner at centre half next to Iekwe at all. The guy looks like a walking disaster when he's trying to bring the ball out. The first half, he made a better second half, admittedly, but he couldn't have been any worse than he was in the first half. In terms of, but balls that were not back to him from Imre or into midfield. His first touch was bouncing off his shin. It was rolling under his foot. His passes back to Peacock Farrell were sloppy. It was absolutely awful. I don't want to hammer the guy, but it's week after week, and it's like Bruce is doing the same with him as Peacock Farrell, trying to play him out of this poor run of form. But when you're conceding goals and you're not winning games, something has to change. And like you said, there was teams lining up, there was championship teams lining up to sign Horsfall, and it's a great sign and a great coup for us. How's he not starting? And again, Bruce has got the opportunity to do it this Saturday. Let's see what he does.
Yeah, completely agree. That all combinated into a ridiculously slow start. Hoggy, I'll stay with you with Therese Forner and a few others, having Hoskins getting in behind a few times, and the back four as a whole. We will talk about Casey and Heckway. That was our next topic after this, and we'll talk about the back four as a whole in a bit more depth. But the slow start, we'll include Casey and Heckway within that. Imre as a defender, obviously pretty decent moving forward, and we'll talk about him as a solo player in a second. But the habitual way of playing it with no confidence, no composure, no positionally pretty poor, is combinated into us always starting games relatively slowly, bar the odd sort of few. Huddersfield was one. Stevenage we scored first, but they had opportunities. I can't think of a game where we've started on fire and continued that momentum throughout the game. No. So I suppose the question is, what's causing these slow starts? Is it just the players? Is it tactics? Is it something else? Or is the back three something that just needs to change as an overall? Or is it I don't know. I don't know the answers in full, but is it the goalie? Is it trust? Is it the lack of cohesion? I don't really know. But the fact that Bruce is watching this week in, week out and still going, yep, I'll stay with that. It is really concerning. And like you said, you used the word terrifying. I don't think that's a bad word at all.
I think you're right, Tom. I think it's a mixture of all those factors, if I'm honest, in terms of the defenders not trusting the keeper completely, centre-halves not trusting each other. And you see it from kickoff. Okay, the opening 10 minutes against Stevenage, first day of the season, crikey, if you can't be up for that and start well, then we might as well pack it in now. But other than that, we just drop off. You can see in the first 2 or 3 minutes of a game, we're so slow out the blocks. There's no intent. There's no high pressing, and we're happy to sit in and go, okay, you can have the ball, because we almost feel confident in our own ability, ironically, to defend, which we absolutely can't. And then we'll hit you at the back, hit you on the break. Sorry. But the first 5 minutes of the Northampton game on Saturday, if we'd have been 3 or 4-0 down, no one could have argued. And Peacock Farrell has had a lot of stick. The save he made from the deflection to put it around the post in the corner was absolutely superb. He won't get the credit he deserves for it. It really, really was a brilliant save. The kamikaze under 6-year-old defending that ensued from the corners after that was just epitomised our season so far. It was horrendous, and it could have been game over after 5 minutes, and that would have been that. And Bruce probably would have been out the door.
Kurt, your thoughts on the defence and Casey and Heckway, I suppose. The question I've got really is, we signed so many winners, so many decent players, and I don't know why it's resulted in this mixture of basically a puddle of mess at the back. Every time someone attacks us, whether it be Northampton, Stevenage, Huddersfield, granted we beat Huddersfield, but it wasn't a game where we absolutely dominated. We were a unit, don't get me wrong, but we haven't been in a game and just been relentless in attack like we thought we were going to be, a bit like where we dominated games last season. But we are a puddle at the back. It's just a mess. And I can't put my finger on it, but we've signed so many winners and we just look like a team of Blackpool from the last 3 seasons where we've got no backbone.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say, Tom, to be honest. I know I've come on a podcast and I'm supposed to give an opinion. I'm kind of exhausted. I'm exhausted from it. When you look at the team last season, and it's such a shame we didn't get Baggett back, because left-sided,
he played from the back really well as well.
Big unit, step forward with the ball. Is that not what we're looking for? What sort of players are we looking at here? We didn't. Left back has been a problem. We knew Jimmy was going to be out till, what is it, December, I think he's out for. He's not really been the answer for however many years. Coulson hasn't really shown that he's the answer. And Ashworth, I don't think has really been given a run at it. So we haven't strengthened at left centre-back or left-back. So left ourselves a gap. We've gone backwards in the keeping department to someone who genuinely looks like a 10-year-old terrified at times. He's getting better. We're seeing that. He's getting better, getting more confident. But we moaned last season that Tyra was being used as, like, Blackpool was being used as some sort of like test bed for him, and bedding him into league football. What the hell is going on with this guy? I just feel like you can't say outwardly when you sign 2 goalkeepers, we've got 2 number 1 goalkeepers, and then not play the other one at some stage. That's absolutely ludicrous. Again, terrible message.
I used Arteta as a key example of this. Like, granted, completely different football clubs, but he said obviously him and Ryan Ramsdale were going to be number 1, and you just thought, there's no way you're switching them alternative weeks. Like, you're going to have your number one, and you're going to have someone that needs to come in when they've made a mistake. And ultimately, Ramsdale left, and they were left with Raya, and we're left with Peacock Farrell, and Ravizoli's not getting his opportunities, despite, he is getting better. I'm not going to criticise him, but there was times where Ravizoli definitely needed to come in.
How
he should
Ravizoli,
have been in.
yeah, the Port Vale game in the Cup, how he didn't come in for that game. Bruce had absolutely nothing to lose, could have learned a heck of a lot about him, and chose not to. I'm actually surprised he played him on Tuesday night. I really am.
Yeah.
And
So,
now
yeah,
again, he's
yeah,
kept
me
he's
too.
kept a clean sheet. It's all he could do. So the question's back over to Bruce. Who are you going to start? But again, Bruce has made his bed at the start of the season. No matter how bad Peacock Farrell is, Bruce is going to play him.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you be knocking on his door saying, "Oh,
Oh.
you might as well just terminate my contract and send me back to Argentina because I might as well have gone there rather than sitting on the bench in Blackpool."
100%. And the mad thing is, Kurt, he's our keeper. We've actually signed him. Peacock Farrell's
He's
on
our
loan.
permanent keeper. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh dear.
Yeah. Let's move on. Analysis of the back four there. We're just going to talk about Imre as a individual soon, but I'll start with you, Kurt. I obviously watching the game and watched it back. I don't want to sound overcritical of Bowler. Obviously, it was fantastic to see him get a start. We both thought we'd get both wingers on either side. Wasn't meant to be. We've gone over that, but great to see him start. He wanted to make things happen fairly consistently. Did he? I think I asked you. Did he try too hard? Like, every time he picked up the ball, is it a case of he tried to do a lot with it, or is it, do I caveat that with and saying he hasn't got the movement and the players around him to support what he wanted to do on the ball as well? Obviously, he got booked for the blatant dive, but he tried to make things happen all afternoon, but it didn't quite come off. Obviously, with stray shots, etc.
I think he's probably too intelligent at this level. He's doing things in his brain and running certain routes and waiting for players to make runs that doesn't happen. I think we saw it on Tuesday. Taylor bang straight away off the mark, running a different line, and he put it through. That's the sort of thing we need to see a bit more. I've not seen enough of those runs from Taylor. I hammered Taylor after Mansfield. Static, lazy. Was he unfit? Was he ready to be playing? Not sure, but he wasn't making the runs. But on Saturday, I tell you what, people going on about Taylor, he was making some brilliant runs and he was in some fantastic positions at the back post. People just pissing around. Like, the execution in our attack is so poor, and I think adding Bowler to that, I think we'll start to see it now, because he will find the man. I think he will at this level, definitely. We used to criticise him for not making the right pass at championship level, where it's a different kettle of fish. I think at this level, he'll absolutely take the mick eventually, because he's just so much better than the other players on the pitch. And the players he's coming up against just won't be able to handle him. But he's got to have the players around him. I know you said trying too hard. I tell you what, I wish the others were trying too hard. One yellow card, losing 1-0 away from home. One yellow card. Are you joking?
Yeah, and that was for a
And that was
dive,
for a
right?
dive.
So,
Correct.
yeah. I think what I'm trying to ask is, like, maybe that's a stupid question, but I didn't know debut. Could we have done something different? I don't know, but you're absolutely right. The endeavour and the effort across the whole team has not been there all season, and I think it's a case of, he was trying to make things happen, a bit like Apter did, last season. When he generally did make things happen, he tried to take on players and get the ball into the box or have a shot. I like it from him, I suppose. I just think the overall balance, Hoggy, was destroyed, and not any chance of winning the game, because we absolutely could have won with a bit more composure around us. But having not a natural left winger to attack either side, and Morgan probably trying to get used to that role, and he isn't Sonny Carey of last season, who had a good last 10 games, but it just ruined the balance of the team, and naturally everything went through Bowler. So I suppose he got the ball a little bit more and tried to make quite a lot happen.
Absolutely. And Northampton picked up on it pretty quick, like most of us watching the game would have done, apart from Steve Bruce, that they'd gone, well, everything's going down Blackpool's right-hand side because they've not got a natural left winger on the pitch, so let's just get over there and double up. But moving forward, we're going to keep playing Bowler out there, of course. So that opens up a massive opportunity on the left that we simply have to take advantage of, and not waste it by sticking square pegs in round holes. Because if you've got, we did see it a bit like Kurt alluded to in terms of Imre and Bowler overlapping, knocking balls down the line and getting balls into the box, you should naturally have, because if they're doubling up on us, a bit of extra space on the left-hand side. So get a proper winger in there who can read the game and come onto the end of it and smash one in the back of the net. Or if, we can go down the left on the odd occasion, because, okay, Coulson's not been amazing so far this season, but he can attack and he can get forward. And if he can have someone with a bit of stability in front of him that allows him to maybe bomb on a little bit, suddenly then you've got a bit of space on the right-hand side for Bowler and Imre. And we know that's going to produce tons of goals and chances if we can do that. It was, again, just mystifying how it was left for so long to go on. It was about the 75th minute or something till we made a sub.
77.
And it wasn't. No, it was Morgan's fault. It wasn't even Morgan still got left lumbered out there. It was ridiculous. It was Bowl that was taken off, wasn't it? Just an absolute Steve Bruce stinker Saturday. It was just horrendous watching it.
Yeah, it made, and again, like Kurt said, no disrespect to Northampton, but it made a very, very bang average side look fitter, stronger, and they were, but it made them look a lot better than what they were. If we actually attacked the game and did what we did on Tuesday, I think we would have had a similar result, if I'm honest. And that's not me just bigging up. I don't think we've got the best starting 11 in the world, and obviously we haven't got that chemistry yet. But if we just attacked the game and played like basic football and got it out wide and attacks, it would have been a completely different result. But we seem to overcomplicate games or not have a plan at all to win these games at the moment.
Which you think is quite ironic, because all Bruce has said from day one when he comes in, he wants to play 4-4-2, the world's most basic approach to football, and he's gone out his way.
And still gets it wrong.
Exactly, yeah. It's just baffling. It really is so frustrating.
Yeah, welcome Tony. He's very active in the comments. But every team that plays us can see our left side is the weakness. Every manager can see except Bruce. Yeah.
But the other side to it, Tom, we spoke to Northampton podcast, and what did he say to us? He said that they're playing like an attacking midfielder / striker,
Hoskins,
right wing back. That is in position. So why would you then nullify the ability to expose someone who isn't positionally aware of that?
It actually made him look very good, because Hoskins was used to playing it.
He's Mr. Northampton, isn't he? He's committed to them. Fair enough, whatever. Honestly, I nobody can ever tell me ever again, oh, you're not a manager, you leave it to the professionals, because it's absolute nonsense. I could have rocked up on Saturday, walked in changing rooms, drew on the board who's playing where, and not said a word to the players, and they'd have done better than that. Guarantee it. Because man for man, every single Blackpool player, maybe with the exception of the goalkeeper, is a better footballer than their opposite number. And that's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. This, as Hoggy said, this is the best Blackpool team that I've seen put together. Maybe we go back to days where we're scrapping around and picking up scraps because they put better performances together. At what stage is it? Is it the manager? Is it the players? Is it a mixture of both? I think personally, it's a bit of both. Personally.
Yeah. And again, you asked before, Tom, you're saying, where did it all come from? You've got to look at what is Bruce saying to them? How can we start so slow every single game? Because you've got, like you said, winners all over the park, and not just at this level, at the level above as well. So to continuously underperform and be allowed to underperform, stay on the pitch, start next week. Let's have it right. We absolutely hammered Critchley for this. And sticking to 4-4-2 when things aren't working. We hammered Critchley for sticking to 3-5-2.
We hammered Critchley for winning games as well at home, scraping 1-0 wins and stuff.
And Bruce is doing the exact same, and he's getting a very, very easy ride. We're second bottom, and we've deserved to be second bottom because we've been abysmal. And there's absolutely no need for it. It's all been directed from him and his choices and the teams that he's put out. It's not good enough.
I think also, like you've said, I don't think Agnew adds anything at all. I think he's not really added anything, and he showed probably his coaching ability when he took over from Bruce's tragedy last year. Clements doesn't seem to really add anything. It's too many cooks spoil the broth, in my opinion. We haven't got 1 and 2, and they're, Ollie and Tomo, they work really well together. It just seems a bit messy in the coaching room, if I'm honest, and that direction on the pitch is getting worse, and we're regressing ultimately as a team. And I think if you add a new bit of blood in the team, if I'm just going to throw Everett's name there because he's the one been mentioned before, but if he came in thundering into the dressing room, set us up to win games as a normal team, I think the players would react a lot more to that as well. So I don't think it's got long left, and Saturday's going to have to follow on from Tuesday, isn't it? But we'll quickly touch upon the second half and Hoggy, the lack of composure and rhythm in the team. If we focus a bit more on the midfield, linked to the front two, then I think we're going to go through our teams in a minute, but Brown and Honeyman doesn't seem to be working. And I said this in the podcast. Yeah, I think they both tried to do mop up, and Honeyman's a grafter, and Brown he wants to just sit back and played in a holding two, like you alluded to that too, where you'd play him. But they both want to mop up, and therefore it destroys all creativity, which then Morgan would probably add in the midfield, does add in that midfield. I think he's quite a quiet leader in the centre mid, Morgan. So having those two there nullifies any creativity in the centre of the park, and therefore the front two are relatively feeding off scraps at the moment.
Yeah, you've got quite a lot of same in there on Saturday, for example. And it's a bit like when Morgan used to play alongside Evans. They both wanted to be the quarterback, dropping deep and playing that long, creative ball over the top, and they just got each other's ways and made a mess of it. I think that was the same on Saturday, really, with Brown and Honeyman. I'm not going to be too harsh on Brown because for whatever reason he's been bailing out of us out of a hole, playing right back for most of the season. But again, that. Trying not to direct it all at battering Bruce, but that's where Bruce has got to make a choice. You're going to play 4-4-2. You've got two central midfielders. Pick them.
Yeah.
Stick by it.
Yeah.
Tell them they've got to put a performance in. They've got to earn the right to wear the shirt to represent us. And if they're not going to, get them off the pitch, drop them, and start someone else next week. It's as simple as that. I
would argue you'd want this, and I generally can't believe I'm saying this, but you'd argue that you'd want Evans in there with Honeyman, because he's the ones that's going to play. He's going to play those balls to try and find the players in. I'm not saying he's had a good start to the season or anything, but where is that creativity? Where's that pass going to come from? So we'll go for our teams in a minute, but Kurt, I don't know how you
none of them have outside of it. If you look at Morgan's performances, I know he's now my best mate, but he hasn't had a good game. Tell me a good game. Honeyman, I mean, he got battered against Stevenage. He did okay, scored. He's been very average since, all four of them really. If you broke down that, if you did individual report cards, I know Hoggy's used to doing sort of report cards, but if you did
is away from work.
They're all D, aren't they? D or E.
Yeah.
On different levels. They've all been crap in realistic terms. And actually, these are not
because the balance isn't there though? Like, when it just doesn't, like the defense is not working, even though they're evidently good players.
But what combination of them works?
Well, he's got to be brave and drop Honeyman or Brown, hasn't he?
You can't, like Hoggy said, you can't blame Brown. He's been shoehorned in there, and it feels like he's got to have Honeyman and Morgan in there and Brown. Sorry, but no, you've got to be brave, and you've got to say, for the balance of the team, when you want to make it play a simplistic formation, the most important thing is that you have a balance. You don't have players that are uncomfortable playing, because then you have passengers and it doesn't work and you don't click. If needs be, Honeyman's got to go on the bench. If needs be, Honeyman's got to go on the bench, and you have a look at what Brown's like with Evans. Brown mop up, Evans play. Maybe you've got to change up. Evans looked pretty good on Tuesday. Maybe it's the start of revival. I don't know. Bit more space, maybe because we have more intelligent runners in Bowler, Taylor on the pitch, and hopefully Banks. Maybe Evans will be able to find those passes and hope that they actually control the ball when he passes them. So, other intelligent managers by now would have stuck three in the middle properly and had two wingers and one up front.
Dave's point there. We go over on the midfield every week. Teams flood the middle and sussed us out, and they said what Northampton did.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. The problem is the guys stuck in it. The managers these days, they've decided that one formation is all I'm going to play for the rest of my life. Look at Amarin, Man United. Look at Critchley. Look at Everett at Bolton. They've gone, do you know what? I'm going to die on my sword. Well, don't. You might get a bit of things saying, do you know what? I tried absolutely everything and it still didn't work. Whereas Bruce goes on Saturday, all of us will be going, why didn't you change formation? Why didn't you play this person at left wing? Why didn't you give Ashworth a try? Why didn't you give Ravizzoli a try? You get more respect that way, surely.
100%. You go to the old adage, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. That has us so far in a nutshell this season, and I still stand by it. The tone was set by Bruce that first game, allowing poor performances to go unchanged the following week. And you look around and say, Honeyman has slowly started slipping his performance. Absolutely, still probably better than a lot of the players on the pitch though, which again is awful. But that's the precedent you set. If you're allowing players to do that week in, week out, you're slowly going to regress and go backwards. And yeah, I'm not Evans' biggest fan, but he played very well on Tuesday, as a lot of them did. It's down to Steve to be brave and to make choices and put those people in and go, you've done well, you've earned the right to wear the shirt, off you go. Whether he will or not, we'll see.
won't talk about the goal. I think one player I want to talk about, and Kurt wants to talk about, is I'll start with you, Kurt. Is Imre. He hasn't had time to set those standards. He sets his own standards by the looks of things. A fantastic cameo against Plymouth. Very positive. He seemed to be a menace to society in terms of taking the game, by the scruff of the neck and say he's going to do everything he can to make things happen. And you start to see that a little bit even in the flash that Bowler came on Tuesday. And then in that game, it was at some points Bowler was in his position and Imre was in the box trying to either get a ball in or have a couple of shots on goal. And I like to think that's the start of a relationship which will be very high class in League One.
Yeah, we've lacked character, haven't we? The
Yeah.
team lacks a bit of character and a bit of cojones, and he seems like he's got them in abundance, and he'll run all day and he'll cause problems and he'll defend well. He's got a career well above this, similar to a Fire, hopefully not at that lot down the road. But yeah, great performance from him. He deserved to get an assist or a goal, in my opinion. He was he was the best player on the pitch by a mile, wasn't he? Some of those runs where he was taking the ball off coming over his shoulder onto the ball and then knocking it forward was excellent. He's only going to get better and better. So
there's a lot of Palace
that's
fans
the last
that said,
positive
we
I'll talk
wanted
about
him.
Saturday, Tom.
He said that he wanted to. A lot of the Palace fans said he was good enough to probably come on for Munoz in the last sort of 20 minutes in games as well. When you think with that energy and the sensibility he's got, in the roles. When I say sensibility, he's not just boring, but he knows exactly what he's doing, how he's going to do it, and not put his team in danger as well. I think his defending is excellent. If you take Coulson as a better attacker than his defending, well, Imre's got it both in abundance. You can tell he's played at a higher level for his career, and like you say, he's going to go on to big things. I don't know how you feel about him, Kurt, but he's certainly been a fantastic shining light so far.
Yeah, he will. He'll be above us. If Palace don't want him, a top-end Championship team or a champion, Coventry or something like that will take him next season.
Yeah, Hoggy. Sorry, I meant to ask you. Sorry, mate.
I'll repeat what I'm saying.
Let's go, mate. Sorry.
I won't repeat it a third time. I'll just say he absolutely stinks of Seamus Coleman. He stinks of him, just head and shoulders above the rest. Really mature head on young shoulders as well. Like you say, doesn't make silly passes that put us into trouble. But always looking for a positive way out and trying to find feet, but always being an option as well, which a lot of our players have slowly started to slip into. It looks like hiding away from the ball. There's lots of space on the pitch that we don't seem to want to utilise or be brave with. But yeah, Imre is the only positive that came out of Saturday in his start of a hopeful positive relationship with Bowler on that right hand side.
Did you see him on against Barrow? Did you see what he did to? Did you not see what he did to Peacock Farrell, Hoggy?
No, I must have fallen asleep at that point.
Peacock Farrell was getting ready to come on, and Imre was stealing his goalkeeper gloves and had them on. So Peacock Farrell's looking under the chairs and stuff to find his glove. It shows that there's a bit of character there, right? And hopefully that kind of comes out across the squad.
For sure, yeah. 2-3 minutes on Tuesday, Hoggy, Kurt. Other than Hamilton playing left back and being caught out, some real positives in the team. I'm not blaming Hamilton. His assist was fantastic, but a fast start with Banks and Fletcher getting a couple of good goals. I mean, Hamilton's cross was superb. Obviously, basically a mark from Fletcher, but good to see sort of us flying shots off. I know it was a poor position, but flying shots off, getting in on the rebounds, obviously scoring headers, and actually ultimately, like the last goal was my favourite. A great move down the right, all ended up on the left, cutting inside and scoring. Hoggy, it was refreshing to see. I wish it was the league. I wish we showed that endeavour and control in the league, as we've spoken about, but it can only be a positive in what so far has been a very frustrating season.
Absolutely. Admittedly, we are grasping at straws as such, but there's one there to be grasped at, and Bruce should be jumping all over it. The lads were asked to do a job. They put in a positive performance. Utilise that. Make some changes. Show that he must be aware his job is on the line. You cannot keep doing the same thing over and over again. And if you do, it's see you later. Lions. We mentioned Lions before. Ashworth done nothing wrong when he's come in so far. Coulson can't be surprised if he's dropped on Saturday. I'd happily see Lions left back. Imagine Lions and Imre left back and right back, up and down the wing, overlapping Bowler and Banks potentially on either side. It's much more positive than what we've seen so far this season under Bruce. But yeah, Banks was head and shoulders. He looked really, really good. Again, if he'd been kept on, he probably would have gone on to go on and get his hat trick. Glad Fletcher got on the score sheet as well. Don't know if you heard his interview after the game. He was actually quite refreshing and positive with Radio Lanks. Being honest enough to say that the players are aware of the position they've put themselves in, the pressure they're under. Whereby last season obviously we drew 8 games in a row at home, whatever. We can't afford to do that anymore now. We've given ourselves a 39 game season now, whatever it is, and we've got to up the ante, and that starts on Saturday and has to be then followed up away at Bradford. But yeah, across the park, that the lads were very, very good, very professional, and there's a couple of decisions for Bruce to make, and hopefully he makes the right ones and does make some changes.
I think he's got a lot more decisions to make, at centre back, at left back, goalkeeper, left wing, centre mid, strikers. I think he's got about 5 or 6, 7 decisions to make, because I would comfortably, outside of Mr. Hamilton at left back, I'd comfortably see Horsfall and Ashworth at centre back. I know we love Casey, but in terms of comfortable, and they seem to be pretty. The goalkeeper helped things, very, very chilled on the ball, never felt under pressure, was happy to chip the ball over the striker, putting it into the full-backs out wide. The problem is a bit of a false dawn, because we were playing Barrow, we weren't playing Barnsley. But ultimately,
I like what the Barrow manager said. I don't want those 11 players ever near my first team again. It just absolutely pulled them out.
MJ Williams captain. I can't blame him, to be honest. Absolutely a horse.
Right, just before we bring in Dean, we're going to go through our teams. This is mine and Kurt's probably agreement. The Kurt's exact words were, "It's never going to be played, but this is what we'd do." I think either Ashworth or Lyons, we've agreed that will come in at hopefully left back. But Ashworth did such a good job. I'd like to see him have the chance in the league, of course. But Kurt, we've gone with Ravizoli, Imre and Ashworth making up left and right back. Casey and Horsfall in the middle to get a bit more composure at the back. Bower and Banks, obviously, naturally right and left winger. Morgan and Honeyman, harsh on Brown, but it's either Brown or Honeyman. We've gone with the captain. And Ennis and Fletcher. I genuinely think Taylor's going to be a really decent player with the right manager and the right tactics. But on Tuesday, regardless of opposition, I think Fletcher did an outstanding job of linking play. Played like Harry Kane in a sense of he dropped back into defence and picked up the ball and laid it back and then started to make those runs. For a big guy, he certainly is really key to this team. And you start to wonder, have we really been missing him a lot? But Ennis's best version of himself came with Fletcher. And I think Fletcher deserves a chance to start on Saturday.
Yeah. Ultimately, I think if you swapped out Evans for Morgan, Honeyman for Brown, Imre for Lyons, Ashworth for Coulson, they should be putting in a decent performance. They have to. They've got no choice. That they have to. They have to win at the weekend. Otherwise, ultimately, a guy's job is gone. That's the simple fact of it. And unfortunately, they've spunked the chance of having a very good start to the season by playing loads of bottom half of the table teams. And now what are they coming up against? They're coming up against Barnsley, who are okay, Bradford, who have done pretty well this season, coming up on a high, and Luton are the next 3 games. So it's going to be tricky. I think that's the best balance of a team on Saturday, but he will play Peacock Farrell and he will probably play Coulson, and we'll probably see CJ on the left.
It'll probably be left back CJ, yeah. And we will go with your team, Hoggy.
Not too dissimilar.
Listeners, sorry, for the audio listeners, we've gone with Ravizoli and it's a 4-2-3-1. Imre and Lyons make up the fullbacks, Casey and Horsfall, and Honeyman and Morgan holding, with a front 3 of Banks, Taylor and Bowler, with Ennis up front. So talk us through your change in formation as well.
In terms of formation, I'm fighting fire with fire. This is the way Barnsley play. And I'm back us man for man against 90% of the teams in this league, including Barnsley. The idea of Lyons and Imre spending most of the game on the halfway line, if not in the opposition's half, is rather exciting, rather than watching our centre, our right back and left back cutting inside and going backwards to Peacock Farrell. The 2 in the middle, I think Morgan and Honeyman will work better than what we've seen from Brown in there, unfortunately, so far. And the 4 up front, It's harsh on Fletch, who did play well on Tuesday. I just feel if you have that natural big man up there, there's often an easy out of going long rather than looking to play to feet. I'd argue there's not a team in the league that would reject any of those front four players in terms of Ennis, Banks, Taylor and Bowler in their starting 11. And if you put them four in the opposition's half as a diamond, at any point, anywhere on the pitch, they can interchange. Bowler can go left, Banks can go right, Taylor can go up front, Ennis can drop in. They can just cause absolute havoc. And if I was Bruce, that's what I'd be saying. I'd be saying, you four go up front, do what you want, go crazy, high press, cause mistakes, go and enjoy the game, let the shackles off, and go and win us the game.
There's no point playing it any other way, is there? Because the way we've played so far this season has been diabolical. So let's be brave.
And going back to the point, Kurt's absolutely right. Peacock Farrell will be in net. Hamilton will be left back. We've got 3 very hard games coming up, so we'll win them all somehow with Hamilton on left back. Is what we do. We're Blackpool Football
Score of
Club.
the week in each of them. Right, we're going to bring in Dean now and preview Barnsley after that therapy session. Kurt, I just want to say thank you for joining us. And you've got a very busy thing to do outside of this podcast with your actual livelihood on, and work. So I appreciate you coming on, but good luck with your project this evening, mate.
Yeah, it can't get much worse on Saturday. I can live with losing to Barnsley, right? Barnsley are not a Northampton or a Mansfield or something like that. They're a proper football club who have the same aspirations as us. So, hopefully they donate 3 points on Saturday and Bruce saves his job, because I don't want him to lose his job. I want him to turn it round. I keep saying that. I'd rather win and he turns it round than lose and him get sacked. That's for sure.
You just know Mick McCarthy's going to be sat in that away, and don't you going, it can. It can.
He's on com Saturday.
Cool.
I think his points. See you later, mate. Welcome, Dean. How are you, mate?
Hi, good, thank you.
Thank you for spending the last 41 minutes listening to us.
Yeah,
we're usually positive people, I promise you, and we don't mean to be this pessimistic. But when you sit second,
I might jump off a bridge.
I'm from South as well. You'd think I'm from Yorkshire, the way I've been speaking, to be fair.
No, I recognise a lot of the discussion that you've had, because I think if we go back 12 months, we were having exactly the same discussions at Barnsley. So, I've got a lot of empathy for you at the moment. I mean, we're pretty surprised over here at where you find yourself at the moment and the results you've had. And in fact, a couple of my colleagues on Red All Over actually predicted at the start of the season, when we did the predictions at the start of the season, that Blackpool would actually go up automatically. So
still time, mate. It's still time.
Absolutely. I mean, we're going to talk, I suppose, about Conor Hurricane, but when he was playing, 9 years ago, I think we were bottom in November, and we ended up getting promoted. So hopefully, yeah.
I think me and Kurt sat at the preview pod for the start of the season, and we spoke to a Stevenage fan who was pessimistic. He said, "Look, you can lose all the games in August and still be okay." And me and Kurt just went, me and Hoggy, sorry, we went, well, you'd rather not lose all your games, and we find ourselves second bottom and they're fourth. So it's a funny old game, of course. But I think someone did some number crunching and said McCarthy's actually got a better points per game than Bruce or something. So it's getting to that point, and we thought it couldn't get much worse after McCarthy. So, but we're here to talk about Barnsley and your incredible start to the season, only losing 1 game, drawing 1 and winning 5. You scored about 15 goals, conceded 4, which is a polar opposite to what Blackpool have done, basically. Phenomenal start, but let's focus on the man at the helm at the moment in Conor Hurricane. A great player in his day, certainly someone that can dig his team out the trenches, being a midfielder who was scoring some incredible goals. But I am somewhat surprised by how good his leadership's been with Barnsley, because I thought it was a bit of a weird appointment for a club that wanted promotion.
I agree with you. I mean, I think a lot of us were quite surprised when he not when he was appointed, but certainly how successful he's been, particularly from the beginning of the season. But he did have the advantage of been appointed 10 games before the end of last season. So he was able to sort of assess all the players. I mean, he'd been on the coaching staff anyway, but I think it's a different position when you're the head coach. Assess all the players and, you know, build his own sort of, if you like, a different atmosphere to the whole club. And that's certainly what he's done. I mean, he's a seasoned professional who's played at the highest level. He knows what professionalism looks like, and he certainly tried to instill that. Yeah, I am a bit surprised about the start we've had, because it's always unknown in football, isn't it? As to, you think everything's going to be great, your transfer window might be great, and suddenly you lose the first 4 games and you can't explain it. But as you rightly say, I mean, it's 7 games in the league. I mean, we've won a couple of rounds of the Carabao Cup as well. So his start really is almost what, I don't know what percentage win he's had this season, but it's very high. But he's an absolute legend at Barnsley. I mean, and I think there isn't a supporter you could find who would probably argue with his appointment when it was made. You know, unknown, inexperienced, etc., etc. But we kind of knew what was going on in the background, and he spent an awful long time preparing to be a coach. I mean, he was actually coaching in our academy whilst he was playing for Derby, and I had no idea about that at the time. He was coaching our under-16s, I think, or under-15s. So he's very clearly set his stall out to become a coach, and he's had the opportunity to do it. He loves the club, he loves the town, he loves the community, and you can't really ask for any more than that.
On the topic of coaches, and you talk about the experience that he's had at Barnsley and being a Barnsley legend. In terms of games played in the Football League, Dean, obviously Connor's played a ton himself, but then he went along and got a load more experience in terms of Richard Keogh brought in alongside him to support him. And you know, we loved him here at our one season, despite our question marks around him when he first came. But it's clear to see now that we're clearly having a big hole left by Mr. Keogh. How's he settled in, and what's his influence been at yourself so far this season?
Well, I think, I mean, I was delighted when he came because I've always admired him as a player. I know there was a bit of controversy in his career in the past, and we don't need to rake over that. But he's a big character with a big personality, and apparently a very good friend of Connor Hourihane's. And I suspect that's why he left Blackpool, because he wrestled him away, I think, in the same way that he wrestled David McGoldrick away. So yeah, he's a very big character, and I think defensively he's made us a lot stronger. Although we've conceded a number of goals, structurally we're a lot better. The goals have largely come through individual mistakes, and lack of concentration by 1 or 2 players who've got a bit of a history of lacking concentration, particularly towards the end of a game. But what we had the worst record last season, and I think in the whole of the EFL, for conceding goals in the last after 75 minutes, because we clearly weren't fit enough. And that's something that certainly Connor and Richard and Tom Harben, who's the first team coach as well, have instilled into the players, into the squad. The fitness levels are incredibly higher than they were last season. I mean, I'm no expert, and I don't have the stats to tell me how much running people do, but it's certainly different from last season.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and I didn't think we knew the influence. It's like that old saying, you know, you don't know what you've missed until it's gone, and we certainly found that with Keogh. We've replaced him with below par coaches, in my opinion, that have influenced Bruce in the wrong ways, and it's all a bit wishy-washy in terms of who's the leader now, as you heard. But you've had a fantastic start. So talk to us first and foremost. I mean, I don't want to talk too much about like all your dealings, but how happy were you with the transfer business? And talk to us about your key players, because I want to know. Someone who already mentioned it was 50-50 in our podcast group when McGoldrick signed for you. I personally absolutely adored it because I knew how fit he was at county, and he's someone at League One, which despite his age is absolutely phenomenal and is still doing very well for you guys. So how was your transfer business? And talk to us about your key players in the squad.
Yeah, I mean, the transfer window, we didn't sign a bucket full of players this time, which is about the first time we haven't in the summer transfer window for quite a long time. And I think we signed 8 players in total. Just trying to think how many were on loan. I think 4 are on loan. So you could argue that that's a bit of a downside in terms of we haven't got them permanently. But we seem to have
have the right mix, though, haven't you? Because you need that quality as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't, we can't afford to go out to Brighton and say buy Caelan Vickers because it costs millions. So we've got him on loan, and that's great. Same with Jake Rooney at Derby. I don't think they would have let him go permanently anyway. So yeah, the transfer window 8 in, but we actually shipped out in total, including some loans this season, 21 players. So we were very top heavy. Professional, the professional staff was very, very top heavy, and Connor's had a massive impact in that sense. And for the first time for quite a long time, I would say 2 or 3 years, there seems to be an alignment between the board of directors, the recruitment team, the sporting director, and himself. And there doesn't seem to have been that alignment, and certainly over the last 2 or 3 years. And we've had, 2 or 3 years have not been very good at all. So yeah, I mean that was it was a fairly positive. We did a show, a post transfer window show. You probably did the same thing yourselves. And the consensus view was, and all the comments were suggesting that yes, it had been positive, but made more positive by the fact that we actually didn't lose any of our star players, and those star players are probably people you've seen and heard of in the past. Certainly played last season at Bloomfield Road. In terms of Keeler Dunn, and somebody was saying on our show last night that apparently only Mo Salah has scored more league goals than him since the beginning of 2023. So he's in good company. So we
Kilo done, as you mean?
Yeah. So I mean, that was a massive part of the transfer window for us, was actually keeping the star players, because we've always lost 1 or 2 or 3 here and there. And the chairman had indicated in April time that we would have to sell some players, but somewhere along the line we've managed, I think, possibly to get some investment in that we don't know about, and not had to sell Keeler Dunn, particularly Adam Phillips. His record of goal assists is almost second to none in League One as well. And he lost his way last season a little bit, and he's openly admitted, actually, which is quite brave of him, that he can be lazy, and we certainly saw that. And at the end of last season, Connor dropped him, and Luke O'Connell, who is probably our other star player, and they were both dropped because they weren't putting the right amount of intensity in training on the pitch. And I think that was a real strong message that Connor sent out straight away, that if you're not going to go my way, you go on the highway.
So me and Hoggy, and as you heard, we spoke about that, accepting awful performances and the levels of Hoggy, I'm sure you agree, the level of determination to win games and win the ball back, and Bruce is still stuck with those players. That's probably one of the reasons why we are in the position we're in, Hoggy.
It's the absolute basics and bare minimum. I'm sure every football fan across the country expects of their players wearing the shirt that represents their town. Hard work and 110% effort, whether things are going right or wrong. And yeah, that standard unfortunately has been set at a very low bar, I believe, by Bruce, letting players get away with poor performances. Was just going to say, Dean, that's a massive overhaul that you've had of players in and out. But obviously, Houhan has found the right formula. So from the outside looking in, it looks like a 4-2-3-1. Is that the go-to formation for yourselves? Is there much flexibility with that?
That would certainly be what would appear on BBC lineups, which is what I've been looking at for you guys. But that really doesn't tell the whole story, because it's a very, very fluid system that changes depending upon whether we're defending, attacking, who the opposition are, where the opposition's strength is, where the opposition's weakness is. So you'll find people like Vickers, who's from Brighton, he will drift into midfield. Phillips will go out wide. Keeler Dunn and McGoldrick swap positions quite often. So if you like, they're kind of swapping between 10 and 9. And on the left side, we've got a flying fullback, Nathan Ogbetter, who we signed actually on loan, but his contract's up at the end of the season. So I suspect that's it for him. He'll be with us. Very, very quick, very skillful. And he tends to bomb down the left side and gets picked out. And the back 4 becomes a back 3 then, with the right back moving across. So that all I'm saying basically is there's a massive fluidity to it, and it depends upon how well the opposition are playing or how well the opposition are set up. But I'm surprised to see that you still are pursuing a 4-4-2, because everybody who's ever come to Barnsley, for example, or we've played against anybody who play 4-4-2, just get overrun in midfield.
You really were listening earlier on, weren't you, to us, Dean? It's madness. It's took you 57 minutes to work out what's not Steve Bruce hasn't worked out yet. Crazy.
I'm really surprised. I'll tell you one thing I did say, though, last night on the show, that I used exactly, Tom, your expression, which was too many cooks spoiling the broth. In terms of Stephen Clements and Steve Bruce and Steve Agnew, who just happens to be one of my favourite all-time Barnsley players. But all of them have been...
I hope you don't mind me saying he's an awful coach.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, we're going back a long way, Tom, here, as you can tell.
No.
But anyway, yeah. So that's kind of how we set up, and it'll be interesting to see what happens. We do have some weaknesses, though.
Well, you've come on nicely to my next question. Obviously, you conceded a couple against Reading, but haven't conceded too much. But where do you think Blackpool can hurt you at Bloomfield Road?
Well, I mean, looking at and listening to you guys, where we might have a problem would be down the left side. So that your right side attack with Imre and Bowler, because of our adventurous left back, there is some space there. I mean, he's quick, he can recover, but sometimes he may not. The left side centre-back, Josh Earl, pushes over to cover him, and he isn't the quickest, and he's not particularly quick on the turn either. So I would say that if you're going to hurt us, that will be an area where you definitely did. In terms of weakness, sometimes we don't defend the box as well as we could, and one or two players switch off. So if you've got a finisher like, Fletcher, maybe, who can be quite sharp and proved it at Oakwell last season, actually, as I recall. Every ex-Barnsley player scores against Barnsley, and that's it. That's John McAtee did the other week, rather, for Bolton, and every ex-player always scores. So there's a bit of hope for you.
You said there, Dean, that we could potentially exploit you down your left and our right, and I think that could be a fascinating matchup if Imre and Bowler are going forward and you've got a better and Keeler Dunn doing the exact same. It could be chaos, but I'm all for it. Let's see who comes out on top. But what's your right hand side like? Because in terms of our very rigid 4-4-2, our left hand side is fairly flimsical, shall we say? So do you do much attacking on the right?
Our right hand side is probably one of our major strengths, in the sense that we've got a very, very competent right back in Watson, who we picked up on a free agent, who played for Charlton last season. And he's very capable of moving into a sort of right centre-back position, but he's a very, very competent right back who doesn't really venture forward, because we've got Vickers on the right, who is an absolute bag of tricks. Small, takes the ball on the half turn, good with both feet, and you can well see why he's with a Premiership side. And he's supported down the right very often by Adam Phillips, so they interplay quite a lot. So you will need to be strong, and by the sounds of it, Coulson might not be the answer for you.
Sounds like we might need to play two left backs.
So yeah, we
just put Brown there. He can go. We've played a centre midfielder who we signed for a fairly decent sum of money. He was part of Leighton Orient's obviously very decent side last year at right back for 3/4 of the season, and is very, has been utilised in all different positions. We just don't get it.
No.
And Albie Morgan, as you discussed, as a left winger when we had Scott Banks on the bench, who had a fantastic time at Bradford, etc. So, that needs to change. And I think on Tuesday he did say these two are here to play together. So hopefully, that was probably a plea to Sadler to say, just let me see what I can do over the next couple of games. But I don't see it ending well for him if you do pick up 3 points on.
I guess not. What I said last night was on our show was that I think you've got players who can hurt. There's no two ways about it. And on the day, any one of them could. CJ Hamilton always seems to play well against us.
Hopefully, he doesn't play at all.
Yeah, I noticed that. But he's also he's always been a handful. I don't know how long has he been at Blackpool now?
5 years.
Forever and ever.
Yeah, I guess he's not too consistent by what you're saying.
In terms of your goals, so you scored quite a few because you win more than you lose. Are they mainly through open play, or do you utilise set pieces like a lot of teams in League One do? Because we are utterly abysmal at defending set pieces.
No, but by and large, yes, we have scored from set pieces, but I would say maybe, I'm just trying to think now, maybe a couple, maybe 2 or 3, that's all. So we don't tend to rely upon it. There's a lot of movement going on, and with our front, whether it's a 4 or 5 on the offensive, there's a lot of movement going on. So, your centre backs are going to have to be, on the metal really to see how it goes. The other thing, as far as we're concerned, is we do press high. So there is a possibility of getting over the top of the centre backs. And that has happened a couple of times. So if you've got somebody with grease lightning, then there's possibilities there, I think.
This is screaming that Steve Bruce is sat listening to this and he's just writing Ashley Fletcher's first name down on the team sheet, who absolutely lacks pace up front in comparison to our other attackers.
4-5-1, Fletch by himself.
We love Fletcher. We love Fletcher at Barnsley.
For different reasons as well. I think he's excellent. I think he's a proper character, a good footballer. He's very honest all the time, and I think he just loves to play football. And when it's going well for him, we see the best of him. I generally think he links play superbly well, but when he's poor and his confidence is low, he is one of the worst players in League One. So hopefully his consistency, benefits us, because him and Ennis work really well together. And I think the three, there's no reason why there isn't a world where they can combine in a three, but I think if he's going to play two, and then I think the right combination is Fletcher and Ennis. But if we do play 4-2-3-1, then I think he does get dropped because we've got so much pace up front.
Yeah. I'm not going in. I mean, it's easy to say, isn't it, that we're third, you're 23rd, therefore, we're going in with booming confidence that we're going to win. The game isn't played on paper, as we all know. It's played on grass, and in League One, you can get any result. Frankly, there's you can predict, and we run a prediction league table. And we're hopeless at it. Absolutely hopeless at it. And one of our presenters now just says 2-1 Barnsley every time because he's got a clue.
Do you have any questions for us, Dean? Like any weekend that you haven't asked or want to know?
Well, it was interesting because I really was interested in what you were saying, and I can see how we might hurt you. Especially if he doesn't change his system and get the best out of George Honeyman. I would have signed George Honeyman at any time over the last 5 years.
I think he's slipping into a team which is just the standards are slipping, as we've discussed. Like, it's just becoming this monotonous theme of concede a goal, moan at each other, and not have much cohesion, with the odd character now being signed like Banks and Bowler and Imre and hopefully Ravazoli. So we need those characters in to up the standards.
I think also it does take some time for squads to settle, and hopefully you will. I've got a big fondness for Blackpool, oddly enough, because the first ever top flight game I went to was Burnley versus Blackpool in 1962. So that was the
quite a good atmosphere.
Because you were an established top flight side with and Jimmy Armfield was playing. Ray Charnley, who I suspect is still your leading goal scorer, apart from maybe Mortensen. I don't know, but I'm definitely not old enough to have seen Stanley Matthews and Stanley Mortensen. Just to make that abundantly clear.
Just a few years off. Do you have any more questions for us, mate, before we end the podcast?
No, I just wish you all the best for the season. I don't want you down at the bottom. I want you challenging. You're a similar sort of ambitious club to us. You get similar gates when things are going well. And as I say, I've got a fondness for Blackpool. So I
appreciate those words.
Wish you all the very best. And we'll see what happens on Saturday. I'm long enough in the tooth to know there are only 3 results: win, lose, or draw. So I don't get too depressed about it.
I think myself and others can learn a lot from that. Because absolutely. Anything else from you, Hoggy?
No, thank you very much for those nice words, Dean, and a very experienced insight there towards being a long in the tooth football fan, suffering football fan, as Blackpool and Barnsley have been in these lower leagues for far too long, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's right. We deserve to be at very least in the Championship together.
Yeah, fingers crossed, mate.
But thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. It's been really informative.
No, well, thanks for listening to us. We're not usually that negative, if I'm honest. I do pride myself in being quite balanced, but when you lose as much games as we haven't played like we have, it's hard to pick up positives apart from our right back. So, yeah.
We're all the same. We're all the same.
Right, mate. Thank you very much, and we'll speak to you after the game Saturday.
Thank you very much. Cheers.
Take care, Dean.
Take care.
Hoggy, gonna end the pod there, mate. Thank you so much for joining us, and fingers crossed our fortune turns for the better on Saturday. And if not, then I reckon we might be getting a new manager.
Absolutely. Yeah, the ball is very much in Mr. Bruce's court. Just go out in a blaze of glory, Steve. If you're going to go out anyway, please don't make it a 4-4-2 square pegs, round hole disaster. Just you've got the tools at your disposal. Please try something different.
Absolutely. I think on those words, I just want to say thank you for the chat. It's been extremely active this evening. And we will be back after the Barnsley game to hopefully review a decent performance at Bloomfield Road. But for now, thanks for joining us, and we'll speak to you again soon.